Hello everybody and welcome to another video. We are carrying on with the MetalHead birthday marathon, where this whole week, we're looking at videos from the early 90s that's helped to sort of shape and form my taste in heavy metal music. Now, back in 1991, I was like 11 years old at the time, and I was just starting secondary school or high school, whatever you want to call it. And every Sunday, my older brother would record a heavy metal TV show called Headbangers Ball off MTV, back when MTV used to actually play music and produce programs worth watching. But, so throughout the week, we'd get up to get ready for school, and for about an hour before we set off to school, my brother would play that week's episode of Headbangers Ball, and we'd watch these heavy metal music videos, and that's where my taste in heavy metal really sort of started to grow. Now, obviously, before then, I'd heard bands like, Black Sabbath, Dio, Judas Priest, that sort of thing. I'd heard those before, but it was when I hit about 11 and I was watching these music videos every morning that my taste in music really started to grow. And it's been quite a mixed bag. We've looked at things like Megadeth, obviously the band that got me into metal for a start, and then we've looked at like death metal bands like Hypocrisy. We've looked at gothic metal bands like Paradise Lost. But my taste in music, I've always said this, is really quite wide. I was brought up on every kind of music, everything from classical and country western up until things like heavy metal, that sort of thing. I listen to pretty much every kind of music, almost. There are certain ones that I won't touch. But my taste in music, I don't just sit there and settle into like the one genre. Like, I'm not solely listening to death metal. I'm not solely listening to doom metal. I've got a very wide taste. And the band we're looking at today is White Zombie. Obviously, the band itself, so to speak, doesn't really exist anymore. Rob Zombie, now a very, very popular artist, movie director, etc. But back in, I think it was 92, White Zombie was really was a pretty big thing. I think as White Zombie they only released 4 actual albums, then they did a whole bunch of sort of remixes. Like I think Super Sexy Swinging Sounds was like remixes of other tracks. I can't remember. I could be wrong there. But they were a really big band at the time, and again, they had this sort of unique energy to them. Rob Zombie has always looked pretty much like Rob Zombie, the sort of dreadlocked hair, the beard, and I mean, back when he was in White Zombie, he was wearing like cowboy hats and what looked like patchwork clothing. And then there was the bassist, Sean Salt. I had such a crush on her when I was younger. Oh my god. She was really, really cool, and I just loved the band as a whole. The music really sort of grabbed me and made me pay attention. And the track we're going to look at today is a track called Welcome to Planet MF, or that's how it was named on the TV, but the track is actually called Welcome to Planet Motherfucker. Now, on the album that it comes on, Las Exorcisto Devil Music Volume 1, it's actually Welcome to Planet Motherfucker / Psychoholic Slag, so it was actually 2 sort of tracks smashed into one. But the video that they had on MTV was only the first part, the Welcome to Planet Motherfucker part. For some reason, they cut off the Psychoholic Slag part. But it was a very interesting style of music to me, because Rob Zombie's vocals at that time, they sort of had a rap style feel to them, which is not something I'd encountered in metal music up to that point. It wasn't strictly rap, but it had that sort of feel to it. They were very fast, sort of rapid fire vocals, and the actual music itself, it just sounded great. It was really chunky. It had a great sound to it, and like I said, the band they were a very, very colourful band. And they had this very unique look about them, and I really, really loved the band. I mean, when I got the Las Exorcisto album, I listened to that thing so much. I was obsessed with them at one point. So yeah, this is like another different style of music to add to the ones that we've listened to already. I'm not sure what kind of music I'd classify it as, or whether it's just generic metal, but Rob Zombie in his music is very influenced by like old Hammer horror movies. You know, he used a lot of Hammer horror references in his music. In this specific track, he used a sound effect referenced from the manga film Urotsuka Doji. I can never remember if I pronounced that right. You know, so he had anime influences in there as well. So, you know, he had a very wide sort of field of inspiration for his music, shall we say. And that's another thing that made him interesting, or made them interesting, should I say. So, yeah, like I say, I've always loved this band. I've always had this sort of connection with White Zombie, because, you know, they really stuck with me. Like, from the moment I first saw this video and heard this track, I absolutely loved them. And it was one of those ones where, as soon as we heard the track, my older brother went out and got the album, because, you know, I was only 11 at the time. I didn't have money to buy CDs. He went out and bought the CD, and it was listened to almost non-stop. And then when I got my own copy of the album, again, almost listened to non-stop. So, yeah, this is a song that I really, really enjoy. So, yeah, let's jump into this. And, yeah, I'm looking forward to this, because it's been a while since I listened to White Zombie, actually. So we'll jump into this and have another little trip down memory lane. So, welcome to Planet Motherfucker by White Zombie. Let's do it. I could never get bored of that song. It's such a good piece of music. But I mean, you look at the energy in that video, you know, how much fun they seem to have on stage, you know, the amount of energy that they put into the performance on the live stage show. I imagine they were absolutely exhausted by the end of a gig if they put that through the entire through the entire performance, you know. So they were just such a good band. And you know, like I said, it had that sound, that unique sound I've not heard repeated by any other band. And you know, Rob Zombie again has a very unique sort of sound to his voice. You know, that his voice is unmistakable. You could put him in any piece of music, and the moment he opened his mouth, you'd go, that's Rob Zombie. You know, just, you can tell just by his voice immediately who it is. But yeah, I mean, his look back then, you know, he had that sort of, like I said, patchwork sort of outfit, you know, the sort of waistcoat and the cowboy hat, but he, you know, still had the dreads like he has now. You know, he looks very different now to what he did then. You know, he's still got that sort of bedraggled zombie look to him, but it's evolved over the years. But you know, I've always just loved this piece of music. I could never get sick of it. Now, the actual lyrics to the song itself, I have no idea what they're about. Just be completely honest there. I have no idea what the actual lyrics to the song are about, but I still love it regardless. You know. I mean, it goes, woven in the surface, a premonition of a land erupting, a sparkling occasion of a city crashed down overhead, revolving in a whirlpool, a dragorama walking on the sidewalk. So let me see you howling through the keyhole, goddamn swept away. She shouted, she love it, get in, away, yeah. I concentrate the midnight without the benefit of ceremony. Whoever said the one who strips your soul is the one that got away? A weather-beaten angel descending to embrace the cemetery, got love so mystifying, goddamn, swept away. She shouted, she love it, get in, away, yeah. She shouted, she love it, get in, away, yeah. Voodoo beat on the mind that digs too deep to find. Something has got to give, man. Psych out. Racketeer or star, you are just what you are. Don't play the misty baby. Get you into a river sky. Electro Nation cry. I need another now. Drift beyond the sleeping, the moon is shifting shadows on her figure. Swamp time locomotion, I can't take it anymore. Sunlight through the shutters, illuminating moment to the moment. Buzz a halo over, goddamn, swept away. She shouted, she love it, get in, away, yeah. And then the song here fades out, but then it immediately leads into Psychoholic Slag on the album, which is another great piece of music. I really wish they'd left it on the end of the video, to be fair. But, you know, I can't discern any meaning or story behind that. But, like I said, a lot of his songs were inspired by old Hammer movies, anime sort of thing. You know, there was a lot of that influence in there. And he also had a thing for, like, cars. Like, obviously, when you think of Rob Zombie, one of the first songs that comes to mind is Dragula. And, of course, with White Zombie had things like Thunder Kiss, you know, so he had a thing for cars as well. But yeah, you know, immediately the moment I heard this song, it sort of grabbed my attention. I was like, I like this, I need to hear more of this. And you know, White Zombie has been a sort of constant in my taste in music from when I first heard this song. You know, as soon as the new White Zombie album came out, I bought it. As soon as Rob Zombie released his solo album, I bought it. You know, I had to hear it because I just enjoyed the music so much. And, you know, I actually think Rob Zombie is he's a genius. I will say I haven't actually watched any of his films, but that's mostly because, well, I'm not really a big fan of horror movies, believe it or not. I do watch them occasionally, but I'm not a really big fan of them, so I don't really go out of my way to watch them. And, you know, remakes of things like Nightmare on Elm Street or Halloween or whatever, you know, they're not really my thing. I've never really enjoyed them. You know, I tend to find horror movies quite boring, to be fair. You know, so I've never actually watched any of his cinematic works. But I'm assured they're quite good. You know, every now and then I sort of think, should I watch House of a Thousand Corpses? But then I sort of never really feel inspired to. So maybe I should at some point. But yeah, I mean, I just love White Zombie. Well, I can go on. I could just keep going on repeating how much I really love this band because, you know, they were something very, very different. I've never heard anything similar to them that I can recall. You know, they've got a very unique style and sound to them, and you know, Rob Zombie still carries that same thing on. So yeah, I can't really say anything else about it, except for the fact that I just absolutely bloody love this piece of music. I love this band, always have done. But yeah, I'll have to leave that as it is. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm doing a week-long marathon of videos that inspired and shaped my taste in music. Hopefully there will be 14 videos. I'm trying to do 2 per day. Hopefully there will be 14. Like I said, I've had 1 or 2 issues with copyright on videos, so I've had to blank out videos, but we've still had the music. I think I've had problems with 3 so far, out of all of the ones I've done. But you know, I'm hoping it's going to be fun, and it's going to be an interesting look back, you know, at the music that, well, shaped my taste in music, but also just a sort of throwback to the old early 90s metal scene, which, you know, I like to try and do something different and interesting for my birthday, because obviously it was my birthday on the 20th of February. You know, I always like to do an interesting or a different video for my birthday, and you know, this year I thought this would be a fun one, you know, to look back on. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, maybe consider giving it a like, maybe even subscribe if you're not already, because that would really, really help me out. But yeah, I hope you'll join me for the rest of the week to look back on these music videos. But for the time being, thank you all very, very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.